The main point is that healing has to be experienced. It's not something you can simply read about. It's not something you can intellectually understand and heal. It actually has to be a transformational experience. And I would love if you could kind of take us through your journey. What was the catalyst in your healing experience? Welcome to the True Healing Experience podcast. I am your host, Dana Herrera. With me today is an extraordinary human, Aaron Bear. Aaron, I nominated you to be on this podcast today. How do we know each other?
Dana, thank you so much for having me on your podcast, The True Healing Experience. Dana saw me speaking in Asheville, North Carolina at a Capitol conference, and literally changed my life. So I'm blessed to be here to launch her podcast and her own voice that she so is just going to be fun to watch how it blossoms into this new kind of venture that you're into. But the story goes is I was on stage telling my own health journey where I had lost 100 pounds and kind of reinvented myself, which very much resonates with the book you just wrote. A lot of the things that I went through of rewiring my mental state so that I could improve my physical state, so my emotional, my nervous system settled down. So spiritually, I connected to the world more, and we'll talk about these four dimensions that you've so gracefully kind of put on paper and a book that's coming out here. But Dana just pulled me aside after my story, and I asked some questions about thinking big with your board of directors and what you wanted to do in your career, and then all of a sudden we started talking about the health journey, and you invited me down to Costa Rica. And, since then we've collaborated, and I get, I don't know how many times, but probably 3-4 dozen times in the last 2 or 3 years. And every time Dana's come through with just put me in a miraculously better health state. So I owe part of my health to Dana. And I think if anyone that knows her out there, if you don't know her, you need to get to know her, because she's truly embedded in her work of the book she just read and wants to help people from the ground up. And you'll see it in the words of this book. So I strongly suggest everybody get the book. But very excited to be here, Dana.
Thank you. I am so excited to have you, and I'm glad you're here. And we get to have this amazing conversation in front of other people, and they get to share in the knowledge and wisdom that we get to exchange with each other. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
All right,
Let's jump into it.
let's do it. So you shared your story of how we met, and I want to mention that that was roughly 4 or 5 years ago now. And so in the understanding of this podcast and talking about true healing experiences, the main point is that healing has to be experienced. It's not something you can simply read about. It's not something you can intellectually understand and heal. It actually has to be a transformational experience. And I would love if you could kind of take us through your journey. What was the catalyst in your healing experience? What did you find changed in your life from healing and from doing the work and from getting healthier? Like, how did that impact your overall purpose and mission on this planet? I would love to know that.
Yeah. So, in 2019, I had gone through several years of deciding to get a divorce, and I have 2 incredible kids. My daughter Bali is 17, turning 18, and going to college now, and
Wow.
my son Maverick is 12, and has beat the odds against a rare genetic disorder. But I have really, really incredible relationships with them. And at the time, I obviously lived with them and their mother. And I decided to say, I need to take a step back to live the life that I wanted to live, where I realized I was kind of in a rut of just going through the motions, and things were going well. I was successful on paper and terms, and doing things that were, cool to other people, but I was traveling 2 weeks a month all around the world, and then coming home and, just being exhausted and tired, and I was gaining weight. So I actually was over 300 pounds at one time, and realized I was unhappy, in the relationship that I had. I didn't have necessarily intimacy, and so I said, I don't want my daughter. I think the turning point was my daughter was becoming a teenager. She was, I think, 13 at the time, and I was like, well, I don't want my daughter to think this is marriage. And so I took a step back, and what ended up happening is I also started a company called Namaste Republic that really put me in a good headspace around peace, love, and gratitude. That was our tagline.
Mm.
So I was spending a lot of time spiritually reconnecting with myself and my own inner vision that I had completely lost, because I was externally just living a life for all the other people around me. And I was fulfilling on that. I was very, everyone would say I was successful in all terms of that, but I was unhappy. I was literally falling apart inside because I had lost myself, and it shifted my identity to be what everyone else wanted it to be. And then all of a sudden I woke up and I said, well, if I'm going to create this company, I need to get in touch with myself. And obviously I'm not a very good representation if I'm talking about having peace, love, and gratitude, and I'm extremely, obese, literally overweight. So that ultimately led to now, sharing in 2019, leaving, and I actually went on a fast in Bali, Indonesia, and I've been there 3 times and had 3 different fasts, and this fast was a 2 week long fast. It was really during the start of COVID. So I went to Korea. I actually went to several places in Asia, but I ended up in Bali for 2 weeks. I was about a 2 month trip when I decided, like, hey, I got to reinvent myself. I was able to kind of, in this 2 week fast, obviously I lost 30 pounds, lost a lot of
Wow.
toxins, became very clear minded, and really reset my whole world around, like, who do I want to be? So taking that step away from everything in the norm broke this
Hmm.
structure of this repetitive nature of me just traveling, coming home, honestly not spending that much time with my kids. I always lived with them, but I didn't spend time with them, right? I was,
Quality.
recovering
Yeah.
from this travel, and, and then also running a foundation and a business at home. And so I was always just kind of busy. And I realized that at that point, I haven't been busy since then, and people always think that busy is successful. But I'm like, being busy doesn't make success. So I started redefining what are the few things that are going to make me happy. And one of it is when I did get to, and then COVID happened as I came home, and then, we're on lockdown. So the kids would come stay with me, and I'd see them, but when I was with them, I was just with them, right? I didn't have a phone. I didn't, have any distractions. I was like, I want to see these kids grow up, and I want to spend time with them. I want them to know they're loved. I want them to know they're not impacted by this divorce. And
Right.
just to kind of share the divorce story. And this is where you realize as a kid, you have things that you make meaning of. And um, as a kid, my parents were happily married. And actually, technically, there's only been one person in my family that's ever gotten a divorce. And, he was the black sheep in the family, to be
Yeah.
honest. And he married an underage, I didn't even think about this, but he married an underage girl. And, they got divorced before she was even 18. So,
Wow.
that probably shouldn't even count anyways. But my family was very traditional, meaning that they were, married and in marriage. And I just didn't think, when you said till death do us part, like I took those, I'm a man of my word. I took those words really seriously.
Sure.
But along the way, I met this woman that we ended up becoming friends. She was in my office, and she was shared an office with me, and so we'd go to lunch every once in a while. And she was happily married, effectively had 2 girls, was in real estate, and fell in love with a woman and got divorced. And this may be a left turn story, but
No, bring it.
you
Let's
know,
go.
and then I'm looking at her family pictures at the holidays, and it's like her and her girlfriend and her 2 daughters and her ex-husband and his wife, and they like have a family picture, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's possible with divorce.
Hmm.
Like that's so much harder than what I think I have to go through, and I started comparing and judging. I'm like, oh my God, she went and she's now, with another woman, and like she still was able to make this new family unit work. And that was the start of a realization that I didn't want to live the rest of my life in the relationship that I had, and
Sure.
letting go of that at the same time as building this company of Namaste Republic was then, very linked in to this book you just wrote, you know, and I say it is, my journey is very similar, as every journey is different. You can see the similarities, and I've as I read this book, and I mean, as you can see, I have all these pages turned back because it's just extraordinary the way that I see that you've kind of captured my own journey. But to fast forward, COVID happened. Everyone else started drinking and getting fat, and I said, I'm going to go to work out at the gym twice a day. And I fasted. I did intermittent fasting because I'd already fasted for 2 weeks. So I had reset my system. I wasn't, desiring. And this is what people have to understand is your system is only craving the things that you feed it. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
feeding dopamine of sugar, and this is like, and you have this saying that I want to kind of start. I love how you start off the wellness paradox, and I'll tie it into what I'm saying is we are drowning in information but starving for wisdom by E.O. Wilson.
Yep.
And this quote starts your book off in chapter 1, and I think it's so important because everyone was drowning in information. Like I felt I had reached the end of Netflix, and I, you know,
If
watched
there's such
every
a
Joe
thing.
Dispenza special. And, at the same time, I was able to kind of say, okay, I don't want to consume anymore. I want to start creating my life.
Right.
And that led to,
Power.
calling my protege, which I'd say he's now been a mentor of mine in ways, is Forbes Shannon, which
Mm-hmm.
runs the Extraordinary Network that we're both part of. He was a student of mine, and when COVID happened, I just said, "Hey, man, you just lost your job at a restaurant, and I'm no longer facilitating globally. Let's write this book that I've been attempting to write for 14 years." um, and he sat down, and during that challenge, I had a couple moments where I had to overcome my own self, where um, I, was like, I don't think anybody wants to hear my voice. Forbes sat down, and one of the biggest moments of my life, he's like, "Hey, man, there's no turning back. I already put energy into this. We're going to get this done. You have something important to say. We're writing something important." And
It's amazing.
ultimately, that led to Exponential Theory, The Power of Thinking Big, to be a bestseller on the USA Today, Wall Street Journal. It was Amazon #1 bestseller in 10 different categories.
Incredible.
Led to speaking at conferences. It led to an invitation to the conference in Nashville where I met you. And so my health and longevity journey got further accelerated by meeting you. And that's where I realized that in my new book's called It's Really Not That Serious, is I was just starting to have fun with life when I met you. And since then I've just let things unfold. And I've, people that we've introduced each other to, you realize is like, you come into Surf Synergy and Rich Naha, and just, it's like life is meant to, be experienced. And I think you,
Yes.
you captured that well here. And that's where it's exciting that you've found your passion. And obviously now you're going to talk about it here on this podcast, but you're also going to create something that's really good for the world and really aligned and coherent with your purpose. So very excited to
Absolutely.
talk further with you about that. But that's kind of my journey to here to you. And there's more of it with you because, we've done so much since then, both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're growing and evolving. And I love that you shared um that story because that's what you shared is pretty much, yes, we all have our own unique journey and story of how we got there, but we all pretty much experienced the same kind of ahas, right? And it's teaching people and helping people understand that to get to the place that you're in now or that I'm in now, or we're never arriving at a destination, right? This is a journey, but you had to get radically honest with yourself. You had to get radically honest with yourself in your life, what you wanted, what you had, and then you had to make a decision to change. And you took the steps in order to do that by going to Bali and doing that 2-week fast. I think that was the beginning. of your healing experience, if you will. But prior to that, you had to get honest with yourself about your life. And for me, I want to bring into the world a a frequency and a consciousness that is around joy, peace, abundance, and love. I believe those are kingdom frequencies. And when every single person can live in kingdom frequencies, that's how we bring heaven to earth. And I honestly believe that is my purpose. And bringing that information and work to the world, I wrote this book, which is The Four Dimensions of Wellness. And I think I shared with you that these things are not new, right? They've always been in existence. Of course, yes, we have a physical body, we have emotions, we have thoughts, we are a soul, but bringing them into one unified structure is the gift that I have been entrusted with to share in the way that I am sharing now. So I would love like your input on the book. What did you read it from your soul? Did you read it from your intellect? How did it resonate with you and where you are at now and allow you to see yourself?
Well, it's a great question. I think at first, you attempt to read a book from your intellect, right? You like, okay, what information can I extract from this? But as I just shared my story, it really deeply impacted me because, it's a reflective nature of some of the things I've done and actually adding context of things of why I did the things I did that I don't know why I did, right? My inner
Mhm.
coherence and my inner alignment to my larger purpose, which I'm still unfolding, right? It's
Mhm.
we're both in a process of tremendous growth and exponential growth. And I think of where we're completely aligned is around this idea of frequency, is that wherever you vibrate from is what you're going to attract. So
Yeah.
when you talk these kingdom frequencies, that's what I think of: peace, love, and gratitude. That's what I think of: joy and
Mhm.
authenticity and curiosity and fun, because and those are the kind of the what we're building extraordinary around, is those ideas, because they create a future that attracts that. So we're
Yes.
automatically just creating this network of people at extraordinary that really helps bring people just like you and I together. And that's where, like, as I read your book and I really dug into it, I couldn't read it just intellectually because it pulls you in to understand the deeper levels of why things are happening,
Mhm.
through your own journey, but also through reflections on other people. So I love the fact that you bring this integrated nature of it. My own journey is also, I'll say, laced with psychedelics, as you have in your book, and
Mhm.
ayahuasca and psilocybin and MDMA and ketamine and some of these other things, is to understand, like, these are tools that you don't necessarily have to have.
Right.
Yet, if you want to accelerate, and that's where my exponential acceleration, your book lays it out very well to explain what they have done for you and what they could do, but also just like how to look at things a little bit more holistically, because all of our parts of ourself are not integrated, never will be integrated. Once we integrate one part, we may lose another part in meaning or whatever. So
Mhm.
it's, we're always working on evolving. And that's what I love about the wholeness is, you say something in your book is like, wholeness is the natural setting that we're just interfering with, right?
Correct. When
So
nothing is
we're,
interfering. Mhm.
yeah, we're,
Mhm.
we're, we're not, we become our thoughts and our emotions and our stories and narratives and identities, when reality, they're all just temporary, but it's what we make of those, meaning to those. And a lot of people make meaning that really defines them in a very narrow place. And in my new book, It's Really Not Serious, I talk about um, that we are not our labels, and people want to label us one thing or another.
Right.
Yet, whoever we're with, we're balancing the harmony of the coherence between two people.
Right.
And in general, our authenticity is to give space for other people so that we both can grow. When your ego and your identity is so anchored in, and your comfort zone, which I always say your comfort zone is your norm. It doesn't mean you're comfortable. It's just what you're used to. It's
Mhm.
what your automatic nervous system is just like, hey, you know, and I like to say, everybody says you're the you're the combination of five closest friends. And I say you're the nervous system of your five closest friends, where you start to think of ecosystems as we're all part of a bigger system. And if we're all one, and that's what your book kind of
Which
leads
we are.
into, is like
Yeah.
this integration piece.
Mhm.
Um, then you start to realize is like, oh, okay, how do I help everyone around me grow into their biggest potential? Because that's going to help me. And that's where
Mhm.
truly excited for, this book to come out, for people to share it with the world, to understand and help you with the healing experience and what you're building at and really just seeing you, take on your own leadership, because I know that you have led from many different positions throughout your career, but been stifled, where now your own identity and your own belonging, meaning you have a lot of people that love you. And you have a lot of people that have been impacted by you. And that's where like this book shows that love and why people are attracted to the healing experience, and why this podcast is going to have a wild cultish following of people that are literally healing through every episode and through every journey that you're sharing with them, because this is the important work that we all have to do. There's not a single person on this planet that doesn't need to read, the four dimensions of wellness. And I say that not lightly, but I say it from the perspective that we're all kind of part of oneness, but we all have a different perspective. Where we learn the most is when we try on other people's perspective. And that's what a book does.
Right.
But what's great is how much work you've done to get where you're at, and the sacrifices you've made as well to get where you're at is duly noted. And I think that's where we are unlocking, a path to true human potential,
Mhm.
with this book. And it's just well done. It's not, how can I say it the best way, is like my book, Exponential Theory, candidly, I wrote it from an ego, and clearly you wrote this book from your heart and soul, because it just gives you enough to keep you moving forward,
Right.
but you're not necessarily, it's deep, but it moves you forward with this. I wrote a book that was like, I want to impress the PhDs at the schools, which ultimately led to me to evolving to now I'm writing a book that's called It's Really Not That Serious.
You you swung the pendulum too far.
Yeah, well, you swing it. I actually have it in my book called The Rubber Band Theory. And
Yep.
you pull a rubber band far enough, it's going to snap back even further faster. And here I am back to, and I got a great compliment the other day from a guy at a networking thing. He's like, you really are you really are not that, you're the person that I got to take serious, but you're actually a person that is not that serious. So,
100%.
um,
100%. Yes, you
and
have
that's what
you've
this,
got the yin and the yang going.
yeah. And that's where this book, I think, really outlines your personality and who you are, and just, incredible first take on, putting your words into something that's meaningful for people to, gravitate towards and learn. So,
Thank you. I'm so glad that that you read it and that it resonated with you and that you saw and feel what I essentially see and feel, which is yes, there is something for everybody in that book. And to get to the place that we all want to go, we all have to do the work, and we have to figure out what it is we need to heal emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, but not in a way that I think we've been taught in the past. And I think that that shows up. So for me, from a practical standpoint, I want to be able to explain this is essentially what this book is saying. It's saying you may wake up and you may have the best intention for the day, and you know what, today is going to be an amazing day. Great. You have a great intention. Do you feel that though? And then is what you feel what you then say when you go out into the world? And then what you say, is that what you do? And is that actually a reflection of who you are? So that's essentially what I'm trying to uncover and bring in, is where all of those pieces come into alignment. And when all of those pieces come into alignment, then everything flows, right? We're living in coherence and everything flows. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. I'm excited to see how the book is received. And thank you so much for just being a great friend and a great human, and somebody who loves and supports and encourages and wants others to grow. Because to your point, that will come back tenfold. That's why we're all here, is to just love and support each other on this crazy journey we call the human experience. So Aaron, thank you
Yeah,
for being
that's
here today. Thanks for listening to The True Healing Experience. You can find the Four Dimensions of Wellness book by Dana Herrera and the Four Dimensions of Wellness assessment on theco.life. That's THECO.LIFE. We'll see you next time, where science meets soul.